In this video, we look at proportional editing and the shading options in Blender. Let's get started. We can begin back at the pivot menu. The pivot settings are crucial when scaling or rotating objects, and these settings can vary slightly between object and edit modes. The default pivot setting is the medium point. In object mode, the origin of the object acts as the pivot, while in edit mode, the center of the selected geometry becomes the pivot, calculating its position based on the amount of geometry selected. The 3D cursor pivot scales and rotates from the position of the 3D cursor. This behavior remains consistent in both object and edit modes. Throughout the course, we'll be exploring each pivot's specific use case, providing a more nuanced understanding of these features. Next, we can move on to the snapping menu. By clicking the magnet icon, you can toggle snap on or off. With the cube selected, press G and notice how the cube snaps in increments as you move the cursor. You can cancel this movement by right-clicking. Now let's switch to a front view. Also, make sure you are in an orthographic view. One of the essential steps in manipulating objects is clearing out rotations. You can see the rotation value displayed in the Item tab. Inputting 0 in the X, Y, and Z fields clears these transformations. This command is also accessible through the shortcut Alt+R. Now I can demonstrate snapping. The way we snap the cube depends on the snap type selected. The default is increment, and the snap distance is determined by the zoom level, displayed at the top left of the screen. So at a zoom level of 1 meter, the cube will snap in increments of 1 meter. Zooming in or out changes that zoom level, so 10 centimeters into millimeters or out to 100 meters in the default scene. The distance you can zoom out can be increased, but we can leave the defaults. So back at 1 meter, if we press G, X and move the cursor across, the cube snaps 1 meter in distance each snap. To move the cube in increments of 10 centimeters, we can first zoom into that zoom level. 10 centimeters is now displayed here. Now press G and the cube snaps in increments of 10 centimeters. The other snap types you'll find include vertex, edge, face, volume, edge center, and edge perpendicular. Each has a specific use case, and we'll see examples of the most common during the course. Let's set the snap type to vertex. We can switch snapping off by clicking the magnet icon. When snapping is off, we can activate it manually by pressing and holding the Control key. So for example, if we press G to move the cube, we can activate snap by pressing and holding the Control key. If you hover the cursor close to the sphere, you'll notice an orange circle appear. This indicates the cube can be snapped to this vertex. We can left-click to confirm the operation. I generally leave the snap setting off and activate it using the Control key, as I find this provides more control and better experience. We'll be using snapping quite regularly during the course, so you'll get more experience then. There is also a dedicated snapping lecture. Let's move on and click to enable proportional editing. The drop-down menu lists the fall-off types available for the tool. We can leave it at the default setting of smooth for this example. In the outliner, we can click the eye icon and hide the cube in the scene. Select this sphere and tab into edit mode. You'll notice how the settings from one mode don't carry to another, as here proportional editing is disabled, a key concept in Blender. Make sure vertex selection is enabled. Zoom in here and select the top vertex. Now press G, Z and move it up. Only the selected vertex moves while all other vertices remain in place, as you would expect. We can right-click to cancel movement. We can press O and switch on proportional editing. If we press G now, you'll notice a circle appears on the screen. That represents the proportional editing area of influence. If we roll the mouse wheel forward, that influence decreases. If we roll the mouse wheel backwards, the influence increases. The more we increase the influence, the more the vertices around the selected vertex gets affected. This tool excels in sculpting organic shapes, offering the ability to quickly create complex forms with ease. We can right-click to cancel movement. Also, switch off proportional editing. Let's tab back to object mode. We also need to switch this off here. The next menu controls object type visibility and selection. These icons, such as the eye for hiding and arrow for making objects unselectable, provide quick access to streamline your workflow. Moving across, the next menu shows or disables the gizmos in the scene. Clears the screen of clutter if you don't use these tools. I find the rotation gizmo great for getting my bearings and axis directions. From the drop-down menu, you can enable or disable individual gizmos. The overlay menu offers control over scene visibility, including the grid, screen text, relationship lines, or the 3D cursor. This can be especially useful if you need to render a quick play blast, as it will hide everything in the rendered image. One more overlay menu that appears here is the Mesh Edit Mode overlay. But first, we need to tab into Edit Mode. This overlay menu offers additional mesh data information, like edge length or face normal direction. We can tab back to Object Mode. Next, we come to Shading Types, an integral part of 3D visualization. The first option is to show or unhide X-ray mode with the provided button. If I rotate around the object, you'll see this effect more clearly. The X-ray mode lets you see through objects, providing insight into the inner structure. Within the shading dropdown, you'll find a control for the X-ray alpha amount, allowing for precise adjustments to this view. Feel free to switch it off to return to the standard view. The next shading type is wireframe mode, drawing only a wire on the edge of faces. It offers a skeletal view of your object, great for understanding the fundamental geometry. Following that, we have solid shading, the default shading type in Blender, providing a tangible feel to the objects. Look Dev is another option, giving a material preview in the viewport. It simulates how materials and lighting interact, offering a more realistic view of your scene. The final type is render mode, showing how the scene will look once rendered. It's like a preview of the final product. Accessing these shading types is made easier with a pie menu. Simply press Z to open it and then press the corresponding number or click the shading type you want. In the drop-down menu, you'll find additional viewport shading options. Clicking on a sphere allows you to choose from one of the Studio Light presets. You can check on the cavity option to highlight the edge of the mesh. This brings out the finer details on the surface of the object, like small scratches, bumps, or details in a sculpt. Or turn on shadows to help preview the shadows being cast. These different shading types can be useful depending on your Blender task at hand. Whether sculpting or modeling, these settings can significantly improve visual feedback and improve your workflow efficiency. That was a brief look at where you can find some of the more commonly used tools within the 3D view.